Greetings, Starry family. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm coming to you live from Mount Shasta at a beloved friend's land where I'll be spending the week channeling with Anistara and writing and just receiving the information that's coming through right now. At this moment in time, I have Mount Shasta snowcap right behind me, one of the chakra centers of the world. And then I'm looking up at the Sphinx rocks, or a Sphinx rock that is in the shape of the Sphinx at the front of it. And I have this deep remembrance and these roots in Egypt. So to be actually parked and near the base of this beautiful rock, so named by the locals since the 1920s, it's just been really powerful, and I'm just so grateful to be here. So, I'd like to start with just a little bit of information, and then we'll go into our guided visualization meditation, and then I'll introduce our special guest today, Hilary Heart. So, one thing that I wanted to mention was this morning at 3:45 a.m. was the happy full moon, the power supermoon, the flower supermoon, the last supermoon of 2020. And this powerful moon in Scorpio, it's also known as the Wesak moon. It's in remembrance of Buddha's enlightenment. It is the moon under which he received his enlightenment. So I wanted to share just a couple insights from Mystic Mama's astrology insights about this specific full moon so that we can work with some of the power that's really potent right now. So now is the time to widen into these openings that bring us a great sense of expansion and peace. Focusing on letting go of our old ego attachments. It's the opportunity to let go and purify who we think we are. Our pain and our issues have been there to teach us, to meet this moment and transcend our fears. This full moon energies brings what's hidden from our ego consciousness to light. Understanding what to let go of, opening us to more compassion for ourselves and for others. It also gives us the tools of creative imagination to help us through this death and rebirth of our culture. As we realize the emotional wounds that keep us repeating our lunacy, we can choose to fill those spaces with possibilities. So, with that, I would love to just take a moment and drop in. Go ahead and close your eyes if you're able to, and just take a few deep breaths. And just come into this present moment and this now. With each exhale, you want to let go of any challenges or any issues that came up during your day, and just surrender and let them go. And with each inhale, inhale the vibrancy of this full moon, this flower supermoon. Exhaling any negative energy that doesn't serve. And then inhaling positive energy as well. Feeling the vibration of Mount Shasta, the chakra point of the planet. Blessed be, family of light. Thank you so much for being present in this moment. The Sphinx rock is asking me to bring you on a journey. Take my hand. Let us see where we go. The blossoming of the flower full moon. It's as if our petals are starting to open. Springtime, the rebirth of Mother Nature, the rainbow essence of the flowers, the divine nectar that each of us hold within. It's starting to open, to blossom, to expand, to share with the world. And as our winged friends come and sip of this nectar, this divine core essence of love and joy and compassion that comes from within us, they sip the nectar and they bring it out into the world to share with others. And we suddenly are surrounded by our sisters, by our starry family, by the other flowers that are unfolding to show their divine essence as well. And as we blossom forth our beauty, so does it give permission to everyone else to do the same. Now is the time to live in the beauty way, to just be beauty, to experience beauty, to acknowledge beauty, to embrace it and have gratitude for the beauty that we're surrounded by each and every day. Our lives are filled with possibilities. It is only our choice on what we create, this creator consciousness that we all have within ourselves. The alchemy of bringing forth all the magic and gifts and all that we have to offer as we blossom our energy forward. Hmm. As we co create and collaborate with others that resonate with our messages, with our vibration, with our frequency, they are drawn to us like honeybees to the nectar of the flower. Let us embrace our starry family now. Call them forth, call them towards us so that we can create our dream teams and actually manifest, woo manifest into this world our greatest possibilities, our greatest visions, our most highest and best ideals and ways of being and ways of living on this planet. Let us alchemize what Mother Earth is calling us to do. Let us build our communities where we can feed ourselves and be sustainable and explore consciousness and expansion so that we can truly shine our lights together as a family, as one energy, one being. For what each of us becomes affects the whole. As we are the whole, we are truly, truly embodied oneness. And so now is the time to bring our gifts forward and share with the world. What are your gifts? What is the alchemy that you're synthesizing within your being right now that you're ready to open up and share? As we become more collectively connected, our conscious web of of light frequencies, creating this web that's engulfing and surrounding our planet. Let us embrace her now. Thank her for all that she provides for us. This beauty, this grace. Hmm. Blessed be family. Thank you so much for being the flowers that you are, for truly recognizing the other flowers in your life and assisting one another, supporting one another, feeling sourced by one another. As we connect more to source and our higher selves and we receive the transmissions and the information that we already know, it's time to we remember our past, our mm, our mission, our purpose, the reason for being on this planet during this poignant time in human history. We all volunteered to be here. We all said, yes, pick me. I want to be there for that roller coaster ride. That sounds like fun. And you know what? I want to be a part of it all. I want to be a co creator in this conscious creation that we're all alchemizing together. So, family, thank you for your presence in this moment. And as you start to maybe move your body and come back into this here and now, mm, we open the portal to spirit. We're asking our ancestors, past, present, and future, to be here, our ascendant masters, our guardian angels. We're opening the Akashic records, the libraries of different timelines and past lives. We are opening the information portal right now for this transmission to come through our beautiful sister, Hilary Heart. She has so much knowledge to share with all of us. And as we come back into this present moment and we start to open our eyes I'd like to take a moment to just deeply express gratitude for Heart for being here. She is a dear friend of mine. I've known her for a long time. And she has a degree in religious studies as well as peace and conflict studies. She is just an advocate for the New Earth paradigm, and she also has a lot of knowledge in healing arts technology. She's just a like just a fountain overflowing of information. And when we were going over what we wanted to discuss today, so much came forward, and I'm excited to share more with you. We are excited to share more with you. So, with that, I'd like to introduce beautiful Hilary Heart. And if you'd like to add a little bit more, darling, to that introduction, and then we'll go into our first question together. Hold on one moment, and I'm going to spotlight you. And what I need you to do, honey, is I want you to unmute yourself when the time comes. And if everybody else
I,
can mute
I just,
themselves, that would be great. Hi.
aloha, aloha, beloved, and thank you, Candace, so much for the overflow of yummy feelings that I always get through our connection. Really appreciate our just immortal love. And
Mm-hmm.
I literally wrote in my journal the day before I met you. I don't know if you remember this, but I just want to hula hoop all summer long. And
I
then
did.
Candace and I traveled together. For Candace and her husband Andrew and I was just so blessed to be able to be part of their team and have
Mm-hmm.
pretty much the most dreamy summer vacation in shareable ways, because ultimately um, our gifts, our empathic gifts, are empowerment. How this moment of being incarnate on Earth now is its own challenge, and that we are here to really these things. And I know that they are just shared in that unseen way. So at the same time, really excited for these moments when we get to be together consciously. Thank you again.
So well put. Thank you, sister. So just to let you know, I'm getting kicked off and back on, but obviously it's still happening with all of you in there, and it's still recording. So if you lose me at some point, then take it over, darling, okay? And just know that Sandy's going to come on at the end to give a little information after your transmission, okay? So, uh, well, we talked about planetary alchemy, and empowerment for empaths is the title of this call. And I just wanted to know from your perspective, what is planetary alchemy? What would you like to share about that?
So we know a few things. It's pretty much a mystery, but we do know that change is constant and that impermanence is always going to win. So when we look at what's happening on the planet, seeming so set in stone, we are already defeated. And what planetary alchemy is to me is a way to frame our upgraded cosmovision, how we greet each moment in a way where we see what's happening, feel what's happening, we're aware, and we actively alchemize through our avatar embodiment, which when I say avatar, that means different things to everyone. What I mean by that is just what is authentic, what is my most immediate, peaceful way of I've had with them. And these moments that I've been impacted by, they could have been, reading some really poignant thing in a sacred scripture, and then reading that same thing said in a completely different way in another tradition scriptures, or it's just that like unspeakable communion state when I'm sitting on the edge of flowing water, or I'm allowing myself to be caressed by the wind, you know, those feeling states where it beckons me to a continuum of awareness where I know that I am this body and I am so much more mystery than this body. So combining the teachings I've been blessed with from the spiritual traditions of the world and the scientific leading edge, the absolute pinnacle of our technology and our lineage as Western civilization, they're coming to a omega point where they're self-reflecting and creating something that's greater than either could be by themselves, which then becomes our empowerment, where we're able to see, like Einstein said, that matter is essentially energy. And when I know that at the substrata of all physical, dense, form-based reality, there is an infinite energy, and that I am so intimate, so familiar, so kindred with this energy, I am beloved by this infinite ether, this space, this mystery, this 99.99999% of physical matter being space. So then the world that is so dense, that is full of what could be the alchemical lead, that heaviness, I see that as fuel for gold to be made. I see that as the possibility instead of the problem. So, you know, I'm not here to sell anything either. I don't really have like some cool thing you could sign up for or whatever. This is just honestly where I'm at in like getting so broken down by being so sensitive that like I just couldn't go on with the headspace of being an environmentalist, an activist, a healing arts practitioner, and just feeling the daily barrage of this world being so heavy that an adaptation started to happen. And I literally started to mutate in my own being and in my own cognitive state where I was like, I am not going to be empathological. I am not going to have the planet's environmental crisis manifest as psychosomatic disorders in my body. I'm going to apply what I've learned, you know, and it's been a rough journey. And I can say that I feel really victorious and that I want to share that feeling with others. So it's just to know that there is an immunity that comes with consciousness.
Yes, I love that. So you mentioned, hi, I had to move inside.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll work better here. You mentioned earlier the heaviness of the lead. And what came up during our conversation earlier was that the earth is like this heavy lead, right? And we're being pushed, and there's pressure and there's heat on the earth, on all of us and our consciousness right now. But what comes from heat and pressure? And that is the diamond, the most precious of stones, the hardest of stones that just illuminates. And that diamonds, when they're cut, and there's different facets, we're all different individual sovereign facets of the diamond, but we're still all one in the light that the diamond reflects and refracts, and all the rainbow light frequencies that come from viewing a diamond with many facets. So would you like to expand on that a little bit, please?
Sure. So yeah, the diamond metaphor of carbon, you know, of
Carbon,
jade,
yes.
um, carbon in that pressure field becomes the diamond. Jade can only be formed at the bottom of the ocean, you
Mm.
know, and those are the two most compressed stones in the way that also makes them the most resilient. And the
Mm.
only way you can carve jade is with diamond tip underwater, right? So all of these ways that just through the factual observation of nature on our planet, this is planetary alchemy, but this is also cosmic,
Mm-hmm.
that there is this cosmic principle of inclusivity,
Mm.
of everything being interconnected, an interbeing, an interdependence, a co-dependent, a transcendence of creator and creation, of
Mm-hmm.
self and other, of um, even of time, where
Mm-hmm.
all the timelines spiral into that yinward place, in that space where it is only now, it is only love supreme, indivisible for all that is. And when we are in the perspective of the lead, or we're in the dark, self-imposed kind of density headspace, we don't have any options. But when
Mm-hmm.
we allow ourselves to be the cauldron and be that substance that's being actively alchemized, we're also the alchemist, but we are the cauldron, we are the substance, we are the world. So we know that this too shall pass. And just like presencing that Buddhist teaching of Padmasambhava, where when we meet a demon on the path, we bow. Thank you, precious teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not in denial, it's not in bypass of that disgusting, gnarly, whatever we don't want to be. It's an exaltation
Mm-hmm.
of the Buddha nature that is always present. And so when we do that, we call that forth out of whatever we perceive. We call that forth into its next octave of incarnation, which then surrender becomes victory. It's not, oh, I'm feeling so sensitive, I'm going to retreat. I'm feeling so sensitive, I'm going to command through my sovereignty that I abide, I take refuge in this jewel of my consciousness that I've never not been, that
Mm-hmm.
I always am, right? And so then there's no enemies, then there's no other. Then we're even saying on the highest scales of global leadership, or the echelons that we would give our power away to, we are that also,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that even off-planet influences, or the things that we don't know, don't know, or, you know, like those rabbit holes that could be very daunting to explore individually, and then become a hall of, like a circus realm of smoke and mirrors, when we all have such conflicting things. But we know the principles of the virtues. We know the difference, where lead is divide and conquer, same old, we're bored of that.
Mm-hmm.
And that the gold, that alchemical gold, which is in that pause between the breath, in that arising moment, and the pause where we get to choose, instead of saying, here's that demon food you like so much to keep you being a demon, we get to say, I made you some tea. I
Mm-hmm.
thought I might meet you on the path. Would you like to drink some tea with me? And even if that doesn't work the first time, we don't give up. And that's how Padmasambhava shared Buddhism all across Tibet, in a country where it was never invaded by another spiritual tradition, or, you know, there was no uprooting those local deities and that local self-governance, that infrastructure. So he didn't defeat them, he recruited them.
Mm-hmm.
He recruited the demons to become Dharma protectors.
Wow.
And so, where is our own reflection needing to integrate, so that everything is that fuel for the cosmic cauldron? Everything is that prashadam, to that nourishment to satiate whatever's hungry, you
Mm-hmm.
know? But we don't have to draw that from ourselves. Oh, that would be exhausting. That's why we have the ether, right?
Yes, yes, that is something that we discussed, is the ether, and that space between everything else. You know, we look at matter and we look on a cellular level, you know, you have the neutron and the electrons, and it's like there's so much empty space between the actual particles, which are even just tendencies. And the only reason we can view them and see them in their erratic movement is because we're observing it, we're looking at it, and condenses into a singularity point that can be observable. So in that empty space is all the possibilities, and that is the ether, that is spirit, as we had discussed. So Can you expand a little bit more on that, as well as some of the concepts of the upgrades and why ether is so important in that?
Yeah, yeah. So imagine not having an imagination.
Hmm.
Imagine pure physical. It's kind of impossible, that other cultures have a rich vocabulary to express this liminal, this imaginal, this threshold between finite and limitless, time and timeless, form and formless.
Hmm.
I very much resonate with the roots of our own democracy in ancient Greece and the Mediterranean mystery schools of Kemet and Greece. Um, of course, we've been hanging out for many lifetimes, girl. Hey, and everyone on this call, I'm looking at these names, just supernovas, and so much love to all of you.
Yes, yes.
And that the ether is the Tao that cannot be named. So
Hmm.
we could have so much fun, or we could just destroy and drive ourselves crazy, really trying to understand it, you know.
Hmm.
But what we can do is engage with these concepts.
Hmm.
We can allow these jewels to keep spinning in our hearts and in our minds, and we can allow these waves to keep like caressing our shore. We can always be like the way another name for butterfly in Greece is Psyche,
Hmm.
that the human is the caterpillar and the psyche is the soul, that the entelechy, which sounds like a high-tech computer component, right? Entelechy,
Right.
that's the entelechy or telos, like the city of light inside the mountain, there in Shasta, or the telos, the omega point, the ultimate oneness of all the many paths of source consciousness experiencing itself. That there is an entelechy of every species.
Hmm.
There is an entelechy of you as a soul. There is an entelechy of an acorn, which then becomes an oak tree, which then becomes an oak forest and has thousands of acorns inside of that acorn as countless, innumerable, right? And so this way of not just fractal multiplicity, but infinitesimally regressive and progressive multiplicity, the the conjuring of life upon more life,
Hmm.
and that we don't have to get too far fetched. We can simply observe the elementals and the way life and evolution expresses itself to witness the ether.
Hmm.
So it's a reframing when I see ether water, when I see ether air, when I breathe this ether air, when I breathe out this ether air, this, I stand on this ether earth. I start this ether fire. I know that all physical matter has this component, has this ingredient, but it's like a secret. And that's the other thing, that there is many, many, many reasons why this is a secret.
Right. You've
It
mentioned.
is its own, it's like its own safety mechanism for the perpetuation of life, that it's like there's an ever actualizing of the potential. So as soon as that next octave of embodiment is reached, the bar is raised.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like how we have fun if we're infinite source, even in the darkest, darkest, darkest darkness, because we know that it always returns, you
Hmm.
know?
Hmm. Yeah. Expanding on ether just a little bit more, because you started speaking to the four elements of ether, so air, ether, earth, air, ether, and a little more clarity on that. And then also, there was something that I wrote down in my notes that was such a great quote, that we need to hold that space and let it hold us, that infinite possibility of the ether.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you for that's something that I just started saying, and it was like, oh, what a relief.
Mm.
What a settling
Mm-hmm.
that all this space holding is so freaking exhausting. You know, it's just like, oh my God, let that space hold us.
Mm-hmm.
Let's reframe, let's upgrade our consensus beliefs around space so that we can welcome space, so that space can be an ally. Space can be literally a whole legion of etheric allies. That is our primary nature, really.
Mm-hmm.
And that we've just so collectively over identified with our physical form, and also been historically influenced by traditions that would divide us from our identity as a multi-dimensional or infinite inclusive kind of identity, where it's not an individuality paradigm that says I'm me. You know, it's like, yes, I'm me. And with that enrichment of all of that interkin, our kin, our
Mm-hmm.
interconnection with all that is, you
Mm.
know. Um, and so then what happens is it's autonomous, it's precognitive, it's impeccably informed by that most immaculate divine intelligence that is already animating all of existence. That it is not solely on the burden of my consciousness to manifest my life,
Mm.
you know, that I get to be this space, you know, that it's not like, oh, I'm on a slave planet and I just have to hold all this space or whatever, you know. It's like, okay, wherever I'm incarnate, I'm going to choose the most beneficial perspective,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
So
and
the air, ether,
bringing all that.
water, ether, the four elements. Yeah.
So what happens then is that when I see petrochemicals in my water, I'm like, what? This planet is my body temple. How is there going to be pollution?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I look down into the rabbit hole and of that singularity into the water, and I see the ether. I acknowledge what the petrochemicals are as a residue, a vestige of a way that is being shed. And I also know their primary chemical components and the molecular bonds that have them. And so I say, well, if I've studied all these things and I've seen it happen in labs, and I've had, you know, read the peer-reviewed studies, and I can, you know, you can always befriend me and write me questions, and I can give you a resource list if you're interested in those kinds of studies. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Of how consciousness applied to pollution literally transubstantiates matter.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by transubstantiates is they are not able to measure pollutants. For instance, when 4 trained meditators do a 2-hour meditation with water.
Yes.
And that's done the work of Sandra Ingerman in Medicine for the Earth. She documents all of those studies, and the book The Holographic Universe. There's many books, and what it is it's just an application of what we've been blessed to learn, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and that it's kind of like I could just be paralyzed by how disturbing it is. You know, it's like that immortal or you know, as a person who I don't get to ask whether or not I believe in past lives, I'm haunted by them in my waking and dreams, and so I just have to work with that material until it clears.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so what is that fissure of the human journey of learning how to manage our interfaces with nature?
Mm-hmm.
And if we have been as a species at fault for the disturbances in our biosphere and our ecosphere, and that maybe this is even a redo where we're getting the opportunity to collectively self-actualize our healing powers.
Mm-hmm.
And by healing, I just mean our original birthright state expression, that we are able to see through the illusion without being in a state of ungrounded bypass, but rather we earned that ability to bypass that, you know. We we say enough is enough of that.
Mm.
we will leave a better earth to our children.
Mm-hmm.
And that it doesn't even have to be reliant on just our physical or psychic, our psychic powers, that we actually also have physical allies like the myceliums, where we see mycoremediation happening, and the oyster mushrooms being able to literally metabolize and neutralize oil spills, collect and detoxify soil of nuclear radiation.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we see physical frequencies that are able to either harm the human biology or disintegrate and dissolve the molecular bonds that hold together pollutants.
Mm.
You know, so the technology is not the enemy. There is no enemy.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing is a breach of fragmented perspectives. So if we're able to bring that holistic perspective, where we remarry the all opposites within ourselves, and we say that we relivicate instead of dedicate, you know, we relivicate our life force and our being to generating solutions,
Mm-hmm.
that we livicate our work and our industries, and we make it a core virtue across all public infrastructure, across every private and public sector. We say, as a global community, this is for the preservation of all life, you know, what we get to do. And I don't mean on any kind of pyramidal governance structure. I mean, it's a peace treaty we sign with every breath.
Mm-hmm.
It's consecrated in our own biology, that every water molecule that travels through my body temple is then offered back into the water cycle with that consciousness.
Mm.
You know, that every way seen or unseen that we are exchanging, you know, that I offer that my own being be in service. So instead of being dragged down by it, I just let myself go right to the depth,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
and say, actually, this is a pretty gentle version, you know. If we wanted to go woo woo, which I'm never shy about, it's a we could say, like, we get to, you know.
Right? Oh, I love that. Yeah, we talked about the Woo Olympics, right? We're like professional Woo
Oh, right, right, right.
and highly trained Woo athletes, and we're just here creating our ways to share our wooiness with the world.
Yeah, like, I love, if people want to make fun of me, that's great. Laughter's good medicine, you know. It's like, I'll just be authentic.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Yeah. Oh. So another thing that I wanted to touch on, we talked about our etheric family, and we talked about how, like, the already always listening voice of shame, blame, criticism, guilt, whatever, that it self sabotages or it keeps us from moving forward. So I want to address that before we move into like empathic abilities or just empathy for people in general, even for yourself, um,
Mhm.
of how, if you could alchemize the best way to um, just surrender and let go of that internal voice that is, it's like the demon on the shoulder and the angel on the other. And this is your higher self and source saying, love, light. And then you get this one saying, you can't do it. You're procrastinator, whatever. The point is that when we start to turn off that self-sabotaging blame, shame, criticism, and we move into the love frequency and vibration, we can actually alchemize more in our environment. We can be co-creators of the highest and best frequencies and energies. So can you speak to that for a moment?
Yeah, yeah. My preferred modality is comedy. You know,
Yeah.
it's pretty funny. It's honestly laughable when that inner saboteur tries to have leadership in my mind, you know. And I'm like, okay, you have really an important role, which is heckling the unimpeccable. You know, it's like my inner heckler, my people know I'm the worst, but my real people know to heckle me back. And
Yeah.
that it's actually a dialectic with what's not real, until it's like divine joy is our ultimate immunity.
Mhm.
And so if we're able to literally laugh it off, because we abide in our immortal self, which is this finite self. And that what happens when we do have our beloveds within our etheric family, or those voices we trust, um, that then we're able to shed those ancestral archetypes that are no longer in service of the future now, near now Earth.
Mhm.
And what's happening is a very unique kind of, in alchemy, this amalgamation of the Philosopher's Stone is not attractive.
Mhm.
Or that caterpillar that melts into the primordial goo and the imaginal cells, and everything's nothing and it's everything and it's goo blobs, and it's like, it's okay to have those moments, and always know that as humans we have, through our life, even doing all the things we're supposed to do, even being fully oxygenated and mineralized and nourished and mindful, that there's still, like morning depression, or
Mhm.
there's still, days when the Schumann resonance is off the Richter, or
Mhm.
there's, just these unspeakable undertows of collective forgetting that I will greet with equanimity.
Mm.
I'll give myself that gift of not neutrality of like, oh, now I'm going to get really attached to non-attachment, like, but a kind of equanimity that's uh the way I feel like thankful to have witnessed my intact elders, or like all of those elders that we in our journeys were so blessed and still walk with, and those moments where we really were able to listen, to not just listen but to open ourselves to be so safe, because it's rough being a freedom fighter and having to have that armor. And we have to have a refuge within this body temple where we are not trying so hard, and we're not judging ourselves for even being judgy, or it's like um the metaphor of the Eastern traditions of like a turtle pulling its shell, it's all its limbs within the shell. That as humans we also have that capacity with our mind. And then we apply our insight, which obviously through science shows us harmonic coherence is more powerful than dissonance.
Mhm.
Always.
Always.
That my body is a bioelectric oscillator with
Mm.
precognitive intelligence.
Mhm.
Just like they can say and they can map and they can do biofeedback and neurofeedback with high-tech devices. I don't need a device to tell me that. You know, I know that every time I've been in the worst of the worst, things I wouldn't wish upon anyone, that I've made it through,
Mhm.
you know, and that at that same time, I've seen people go through things that I just bow to their strength, and I see, oh my gosh, the human being is so resilient,
Mhm.
you know, and that I draw on that power when those voices seem so powerful. I just let them be. I give them a job. I say,
Mhm.
go heckle that weakness that I don't want to identify with anymore.
Mhm.
Okay, resistance, resist resisting, you know? It's like you have to make it a little bit more of a game.
Mhm. Mhm.
Otherwise, it's just so serious. And it's just, oh.
Right? Comedy. Bring in the comedy. So, looking at my notes here, I had a couple of the things that I really wanted to address too. You said that as alchemists, we are the cauldron becoming its next version. Yes, and also, what for people who understand being an empath, and then there's people who understand just what it means to be empathetic. So if you can kind of delineate that a little bit more before we go into like what empowerments you have for those empaths. So
Sweet.
thank you.
So this concept of being the cauldron and the alchemist is that we don't have a fixation on what we're becoming, but at least we know that this is not it, and we're going to melt it on down.
Yes.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like that active state of becoming, that entelechy, where instead of that, like almost like a what it can become for a lot of empathic people is like this past life nostalgia, or like why does it have to be so hard? Is like a trust that we forgot on purpose, actually,
Mm-hmm.
that we forgot in order to create a new memory.
Yeah.
And that in fact, this now earth is already a memory in the beloved one, in the grand mystery, you
Mm-hmm.
know, so that instead of over investing our beliefs that I have to process other people's energy through my body temple in order to help them heal, or I take on the pain of the world in order to help other people, or, you know, like excavating and being really real with ourselves about these underlying beliefs, which then inscribe our hologram with the charge and the magnetism of creating more of that.
Mm-hmm.
And we say, I see that person having that hard time. And I also know, according to waveform dynamics, vibrational interactions, that I will help them more by creating the alternate wave than empathizing with what they're in.
Mm.
So it's not, it's like, okay, they're going to be in that, and just like in a heartbeat, in a biorhythm, healthy heart rate variability is very rich and variable. If it's in a predictable loop, it it makes you weak bioelectrically. It makes you able to be inundated with static,
Mm-hmm.
which then actually translates into degeneracies and diseases.
Mm-hmm.
So what we do is we kind of have to surprise ourselves. We kind of have to say, okay, I feel the gravity of karma pulling me to react that way. I know how I'm supposed to react, and it might seem kind of ludicrous even to think about it in a bit of a different, you know, but it's only a tiny settling of a difference. It's not a disconnection from what is. It's so deeply connecting that it then receives the feedback loops, the regenerative feed forward loops,
Mm-hmm.
the support, the source assistance of the unseen, of our etheric alliances on the planet right now. And so it's like, it's not, let me be empathically isolated because I'm so sensitive, I can't go anywhere.
Right.
It's like, let me develop my bioelectric field. Let
Mm.
me be a, a an offering
Mm-hmm.
rather than a taker of energy, you know, because let me ask, how is that drop of a toxin going to get up the waterfall, you know?
Like a salmon.
Or how could there be a drop of purification?
Mm.
How could there be, instead of a toxic substance that can go and permeate water, and, you know, maybe that one tear, bodhisattvic tear that sees through what's happening, could fall in that oil spill puddle and like actually clear it, you know? And these are just the places where we open our imagination, where I'm like, where it's like, I don't know what it will be, but I know what is coming is even greater than I can imagine.
I love that. So, yeah, hold on one moment. um, I love that. What is coming is even greater than we can imagine. And when I use my imagination, and see the new earth paradigm and what we're creating with our creator consciousness, it's beautiful. It is everything that we can ever think of, dream of. You know, in my wildest lucid dreams, when I think about, you know, like logically, when I try and think about fifth dimension, it's not even possible to conceptualize it. The abilities that we're going to be able to have as human beings, the thriving and the abundance that everybody's going to be able to experience, and the love and the peace. And I mean, it's just, I'm excited, you know, and the more that I see some other folks going this direction with the old paradigm, the more I'm feeling more and more directed to keep in the positive vibration of what's possible and what we can alchemize together on this planet. So, with that said, is there like, how do you feel about visualizing the future and the new earth paradigm, where we're going? What are some of the ways that you like to tap into creating that on a conscious level? Mm.
Mm-hmm. Sweet. I feel so grateful to have, I like to call it the timeless earth.
Mm-hmm.
And just to go into that feeling that we're not on, and like my elders have told me, that you're not some new age. This is not some new, this is not a new, this is the now earth.
Yes, yes.
Welcome home,
Love that.
right? So, and that this is the omni
Mm-hmm.
dimension, you know, it's like beyond us. It's the spectrum of all the spectruming, right? So that what was formerly maybe made available through meditative peak states or super flow, physical activity, or that there's these ways that we can conjure a direct experience
Mm-hmm.
of these aspects of our capacities, of our potential, of our potency.
Mm-hmm.
And that the more we do that, the more whatever is going to become just arises. And
Mm-hmm.
that might sound, you know, like a little you know, like it's purposefully vague because it's different for everyone. And it's that sameness different ways is Anita saying. It's like, oh yeah, it's the same, but you know, just done different. Or like they all have, but with the deepest bow of honoring to those differences.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that because I'm on my perfect path, every being on this earth is actually also on their perfect path.
Mm-hmm.
Because I trust the earth to keep orbiting through space, you know, as long as it's not like a flat tortilla just being spun by some little like
Pizza dough.
that we can have, you know, that we can have so much fun just zooming out a little bit on our Zoom call and realizing how generous our planet is to accommodate all of these learning programs, all these different, you know, grades in the school of life, that it's a choose our own adventure kind of an experience. And so I just choose to greet Earth as a school, as a place for learning, and as a place for living our lessons.
Mm-hmm.
And that when the life lessons come back to us, instead of saying, why the fuck is this happening to me again? Oh my God. We say, oh, I've learned from that and I'm going to do it differently this time,
Uh-huh.
you know? Or, and it's innate in those. So we are able to have a carrier wave of our consciousness that takes those peak moments and makes them our new baseline.
Love that.
Carries that mystical into the mundane. So then we don't have this escapist undercurrent that's actually bringing our own demise.
Mm-hmm.
We're choosing life and more life every morning. Upon even opening our eyes, all I can do is give thanks. You know, every night, like same, even in those in between spaces, making a gratitude prayer. Sounds so simple. That is high technology
Mm-hmm.
right there, you
Indeed
know.
it is.
And that gratitude is probably the highest technology on a cosmic scale, because what it does is it generates life force,
Mm-hmm.
which then puts a charge field into the infinite chaos of potential to say, manifest this as a probability. And this is the most probable probability. So if we have all the most powerful beings who are the most empathic choosing a colonized vestige of self-defeating, self-forgetting, where we're saying, oh, the planet's being destroyed, or we're just being whiny maybe a little,
Mm-hmm.
because it's actually just reporting what is, but not. You know what I'm saying? It's like that threshold where we catch ourselves. And it's totally legitimate that we have those cascades where it's like, I feel everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I am me, but like I feel everyone. If I have something going on with my body and then I'm like, what's going on with me? And then I choose to say, one of my loved ones is having a healing right now,
Mm-hmm.
you know, instead of whining about it. I'm like, okay, this benefit whatever's going on, body. I trust you.
Mm-hmm.
I trust my body. I trust my body to always self-correct, to know self from not self, to say my cellular membranes know what's a waste product, or and just dissolves that out and brings in nourishment. And if I'm mineralized,
Mm-hmm.
if my cellular membrane has the bioelectric lightning, that's like the fortress, that's the moat around my castle. Nothing's like, toxins can't even toxify you because you have that bioelectric field, literally minerals and clear water and proper astral hygiene, mental hygiene, that these things all come together to keep you healthy.
Yes.
And then once we are able to do that, it becomes a feed forward, regenerative life force, offering that we keep each other healthier. I
Mm-hmm.
hear something's going on. I think of that person in the highest and best way.
Mm-hmm.
I feel, a natural disaster or a human unconscious action influence global situation, crisis situations every day. It's like, oh my God, it's part of our responsibility to be aware of these things so that we can pray properly, so
Mm-hmm.
that we can send that love to our own heart as those beings, that
Mm-hmm.
we bring and we command that this planet is one love, one heart, one people, one destiny.
Yes. So shall it be. I love that. So I'm going to pop one on you that we didn't discuss beforehand. And
Yeah,
it's simply because it's sitting with me right now. The leader of the Alchemic Mystery Field School that I'm a part of, that was supposed to go to Egypt earlier this year, she came with a question of, what is spirituality to you? And in simple terms, I wrote many pages about it, but in simple terms, what I felt was, for me, spirituality is connection to spirit. So there's many different ways. I mean, the answer is going to be different for anybody because we all live in our own phenomenological world. The way we're raised, our religious beliefs, the media that we surround ourselves with, the friends that we have, our experiences in life all dictates how we connect to spirit. So there's no one right way and wrong way, or there's literally wars over difference of belief systems and religions. So for me, it's like part of connecting to spirit and really listening within and turning off the blame, shame, criticism, and turning on the highest and best, is that you just learn to better care of yourself and love yourself and have compassion and empathy for yourself and for others. So you're creating this ripple effect out into the world, of the beauty way. I'm beautiful, you're beautiful, it is all beautiful, and let's have gratitude for that. So, yeah, what is your idea of spirituality, and maybe a connection to planetary alchemy around that?
Mhm. That's fun. um, the when people ask me, do I use my college degree in religious
Yeah,
studies, peace and
religious
conflict?
studies. Exactly.
I'm like, well, I have no idea what's going on. And I think that's ultimately my spirituality, is the deep bow to the great mystery.
Mm, mm-hmm.
And then an absolute voracious intellect wanting to learn and just constantly be able to really just authentically reflect on what I witness. Um, and then I would just say that at the most basic level, the elements are sacred to me. And that in the central pillar of my being, at the core of my essence, I revere this physical embodiment as spirit.
Mm, mm-hmm.
And so that it's like physical, a physicality.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it's like, I tried to do my senior project as starting a cult, but my teacher wouldn't let me. Um,
I love that. Yes.
and what my plan was that we were all going to just sing kumbaya. No, just kidding. Um, we were all going to know that water, earth, air, and fire are sacred. Or but we wouldn't even use that word. We say are the common denominators of all life on earth.
Mm-hmm.
And just enshrining the physical vessel as sacred. So that then my freedom of religion is to live with pure elements, to drink clean water, to grow food in healthy soil,
Mm-hmm.
to breathe air that is restored, I was, when we first met, I was doing a lot of forest defense, and I'm actually here in the redwoods, and went today right through the forest where I was living in the crown of an ancient redwood tree when I dropped out of school, and then the trees kicked my ass and were like, hey, you little wannabe earth spirit, you better get your ass back in school and learn some things, because if you were meant to be a tree, you wouldn't have this human body. So
Right.
go, go learn
Good for them.
go learn how to talk to your people, you know.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
and that's like, my people are all people.
Mm-hmm.
And that the deepest spirituality for me in this time, in this moment of this earth walk, is to say that I am all people,
Mm-hmm.
that I identify with this human family indivisibly,
Mm.
because there's so much factionalization. We know that, like, are the wars even between the people, or are they between those gods, you know? I'm like in the back of my imagination being like, hey, Yahweh, you sit down. Muhammad, I don't want to hear it. Jesus, get on board.
Go to your
We
room.
are doing and just laying it down
Yeah.
on the inner plane, because
Mm-hmm.
that's our biggest broadcast radius.
Mm-hmm.
But the inner plane, we are already more powerful in our harmonic unity consciousness on this planet than
Mm-hmm.
any forces of division. If there was going to be a loss, it would have already happened. Like, the
Mm-hmm.
game over, there's no such thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we trust the victory.
Mm-hmm.
And that's ultimately the, like, golden, you know, crack, like the light that lets the crack that lets that golden light, that, like, is beckoning me. It's saying, trust the mystery,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
trust the ether, trust the unknown,
Mm-hmm.
and love and revere the physical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that trust too, that trust of like, okay, we already blew up our planet before. That's not going to happen again, and or, we won't be burned at the stake again for sharing our magic and our gifts in this life. So that deep trust that we are fully embodying what we're supposed to be doing. We're all on the right path. So regardless of, oh, my spirituality is this way and yours is this way and yours is that way, again, we come back to the diamond, right? and all the different religions and all the different cultures and all the different ways that people experience spirituality is just a facet of the diamond that all is one and reflects the rainbow prismatic light from it. So thank you so much for all that you've given us this evening. And I know that we wanted to share an actual, just a transmission from you, kind of a visualization meditation to close out the call. And then we also want to bring in a previous guest, Sandy, from Golden Codes. She has a special announcement that she'd like to offer to all of us after the visualization. So, Heart, I'm looking at the time. We've got about 15 minutes left on the call. So, if you want to give us 12 minutes or so, if you're flowing, keep going. I'm not going to stop you. But one of the things that and one of the things that I would love to hear from you is obviously whatever's supposed to come through. And we also wanted to open the doors just a little bit. We spoke about it yesterday of not just planetary alchemy, but our solar system and our universal alchemy, right? And what's coming through in those domains too. So thank you, Lovey. And I'm so looking forward to this. I'm just going to sit back and relax and listen.
Receiving each breath as nectar. We focus on that receiving. So even in our exhale, there's a receiving. We feel life receiving life. There is only life. One of Buddha's trials before he attained enlightenment, which we are so, whether we're Buddhist or not, I'm honored to be able to learn from these ways, so we can just embrace it in that kind of a open system, just contemplating the trial of facing death and contemplating mortality, and even the permanence of impermanence, how no matter what happens, we are all impermanent in this way. And through our total acceptance of the breath, of our impermanence, we ever gracefully expand in our eternal opulence. The rich treasure tower within every moment, every breath, every pulsation of these bodies' temple. The temple of our mind palace that is not only ours, but the place where we do reside in that jewel. How do we see ourselves when we zoom out and see the whole planet as a solar system? How do our star family see us? Allowing ourselves to be witness to our own opulence. The beauty is overwhelming to behold in such a sweet way, where we allow that dissolving to actually liberate and nourish every part, all of the aggregates, and every in between, so that our bodies right now are just like a leaf, a fresh spring green, just turning towards that sun beyond the sun. When we say this way of praying to the sun beyond the sun, we know that our solar system, there's a light beyond the light, that there is infinite energy beyond all that we witness. And with that bow to the inner plane, it's so simple. It doesn't take any effort. With that bow of our attention, we call the attention of the Buddhas, of the avatars, of our golden ones who walk with us and who are us in a simultaneous parallel. And we allow whatever we need to be nourished, wherever our pain body has any lingering fissures, we allow that gold, that diamond gold of our indestructible liberation to become that filling, just like those Japanese teacups when they are broken, that kintsugi, that golden joinery where the Midas touch of our shared prayer field, our sangha, which is that collective magic where we are pod, we are greater than our parts, that we have so much more power than we allow ourselves to acknowledge. And when we trust that we come from this beauty, we are able to return to it. And so just that settling into the breath so that we can expand into the near future now, and even in advance, give ourselves whatever we're gonna need to continue to reorient towards our true sun. That in an environment of so much artificial light, that we choose to perceive the strongest force in the universe is this beauty. That the highest technology is our gratitude. And that we then will always have whatever we need in our thoughts, actions, and deeds. I also want to share in this moment a befriending of our dark light. So we look at what the dark minerals on Earth, in your imagination, think about shungite, think about carbon, which shungite is pure carbon. Think about black tourmaline, think about obsidian, onyx. These stones never need to be cleansed. They're self-cleansing. Part of that property is a reflection of darkness. Because when we accept that this black, this melanin at the center of the eye, that's the same black that is the sky mother, that is the, in ancient Egypt, Nut, that holds the stars. We befriend the unknown. We befriend the darkness of the earth, that fertile Father Earth, that resurrection of Osiris that brings forth the crops. We allow our cosmovision to incorporate the holy union and the cosmogenesis at every octave. So then Sky Father, Sky Mother, Earth Father are making love and bringing forth that beautiful gift of more life. And something that's been very supportive, and I want to just offer in a way of a consecration, of a benediction, is that obsidian egg, that black tourmaline shungite, that dark jeweled ray that comes in and gives us an aspect of deep power, just like, the Kaaba stone or the 0 point, the mini sun, the dark crystal, even the dark crystal. We have all these cultural ways that we haven't forgotten. And so when we turn within and we might have that moment where we're blinded by the darkness, we just take a little bit of an extra exhalation. And we breathe back in that trust, that unspeakable trust that comes from not needing to know what's going to happen, but feeling it. And I just offer forth with deep mahalo ke akua to Entitaita Pachamama and all the ways named and unnamed that we call on this holy mystery, that whatever we need as a planet will be coming to us. and that we receive all of this benevolent cosmic energy through this sheath of our own planetary immune system, of this beautiful, beautiful coal becoming a diamond. And just know that uh, knowing beyond knowing is free and is just like a diamond, indestructible. Home at Takoyasin. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Mm. Thank you. Thank
So
you.
all of our relations.
Yes, indeed. Felt called to come back outside with Mount Shasta.
Yay!
So grateful to be here. And wow, Heart, you have always been an inspiration to me and somebody of great, deep wisdom and knowledge. And I am so looking forward to learning more from you and with you, from each other, and collaborating. Heart and I co authored a book 10 years ago now. Yeah. It was called the Primordial Spin Intergalactivation Guidebook. And it was a workbook that went with the holistic hooping, Kundalini, hoop dance, 6 week telecourse, basically. So essentially, what we see happening now is a third edition coming out that really doesn't focus so much on flow arts and hoop dance, but still talks about the same concepts. So I'm really looking forward to that, sister. And more information on
Yes.
that soon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, one more moment. I did want to ask you, how can people reach you? Do you have an email address, phone number, anything that you want to share with the public? And then we're going to bring in our sister Sandy and say hi to her too.
Yeah. Aw, totally. I love that Sandy and I have the same namesake. Hey, sister. I am so grateful to you, Candace, and I am a secret hermit way out in the wilderness. No, you can find me just on Instagram and my personal page if we're not already friends. Heart Fractal. I post some pretty silly things on there, and I am going to be, sharing more public events. Eventually, but for now I'm just
Mhm.
only really available for soul readings, which are my version of oracular divination, where I'm channeling people's own souls back to themselves. So just for that added clarity in navigating life. And then for my closer beloveds, I do also offer Dharma readings, which are just how to orient and come to feel more supported and sourced in our and in really honoring or bringing forth our gifts into the
Mm.
world in, a,
Mhm.
in the most impactful ways. So yeah, and then if you want to tune in with the land that Candace is on there, also have the Instagram Mahashasta.
Mhm. So
So Heart
grateful.
Fractal or Mahashasta.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Heart Fractal. So blessed right now. I'm going to give you all a sneak peek here just for a moment. I don't know if we can do this, but so we have Mount Shasta over there, right? The snow-capped mountain. And I am parked literally here at the base of Sphinx Rock, so named by the locals in the 1920s. You can
And
tell the
before
Sphinx.
that, Turtle Rock, before that
Uh-huh. You
too.
could tell the sphinxiness of it from the other side when you're actually looking towards the mountain. But this is where I've been writing, and I've been here 3 days now, and I will be here for another 5. Thank you, Andrew, my beloved, for helping me co-create that and staying home with the boy. And a lot is coming through. Oh my gosh. Part of it is an 1111 code. So you know that that's all dear to my heart. And another fabulous woman who channels and disseminates a beautiful code called the Golden Codes is here with us today. And I just wanted like Sandy to jump on, if you could, darling, and tell us what you have to share with us. Let me see if I can find your video. Where are you?
Hi.
There you
Hi,
are.
honey. Can you
Hi.
hear?
We can hear you.
Okay, beautiful.
Can't
So
see you,
nice
but
to
we can
see
hear you.
everyone. Oh, the visual's not really working.
Nope, it's just a black screen.
Today is a funny day with the electronics, I must say. Must be this full moon gasms
Mm-hmm.
that have just been constantly pouring out to all of us. Below in the circuits.
Right?
Hello, everyone. I'm going to start
Frequency
talking.
so
It seems
high.
like we want to show. But actually, I am here again. Thank you so much for hosting this beautiful experience, Candace.
Mm-hmm.
And Heart, that was so beautiful. I listened to you articulating your heart's soul's expression. That was so beautiful. It'd be nice to drop in soon. I love all of your genius. Thank you so much. And
Yeah.
I'm just here to drop a little line. Today is a big release day for a video that Joyce and I have re-recorded. We had a ceremony last week for the Beltane Festival. Beltane Festival. It was a celestival, and the name of our ceremony was called Create Your Consciousness. And this is a whole ceremony, our Golden Codes ceremony, that assists with being able to help people dissolve all human limitations that are holding our sovereignty hostage, that create lots of holds on being able to create our own reality. So this recodes your reality into creator consciousness, and there are many layers to this system. And so we just wanted to show you, I have a little teaser video that I could do and share screen here. It's only 3 minutes long, so you can just get a little view, and we will share in the link below of where you can access this later.
Awesome. Mm-hmm.
Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah. You can share screen. Go ahead, honey.
Okay.
I want to see it. Let me see if I need to allow you to do that.
Your permission definitely would be
Multiple participants.
welcomed here.
One participant can share at a time. It should be there. If
Hmm.
Do you have it at the bottom?
It says host disabled attendee screen sharing.
Okay. Um, I just hit multiple participants can share simultaneously.
Okay, that's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Now here we are.
Yay, there you are.
Okay.
Welcome to Golden Codes Creator Consciousness. I am Joyous Heart, and it is an absolute honor and pleasure to be here with you right now, to receiving the profound, life-altering, recode your reality transmissions and activations which Sandy has channeled and alchemized with support of an entire host of angels and ascended masters. You can feel that safety, you can feel it. It's protecting your brain, protecting your subconscious. Okay, here we go. Beautiful. Now we're going to bring in the second part of this liquid golden plasma light bodysuit. We're going to be bringing in the translation system. So this is the new system right now that is beyond shielding. It transmutes negative electromagnetic frequency and turns it into empowering factors for your system, for your mind, body, and spirit, for your power centers, for your meridians, for your cells. So the next time you start seeing a 5G tower or there's EMFs, what if we now can just transmute that and alchemize that to work for your highest benefit? There are 3 parts to this next breath in the Holy Trinity activation sequence. In through the nose, out through the mouth. In through the mouth, out through the mouth. Power that up. Beautiful. Starting to increase the liveliness inside of your cells. All you have to do is just say yes. Your creator consciousness can create whatever solution that you desire. Your wish is your command. Beautiful. We're ready to start sealing up. And all work is done, complete for you. And I hope you have the most beautiful now possible. Congratulations and thank you for stepping into creator consciousness.
Remember this. Remember how sacred you are. Remember you are creator, consciousness, embodied as you. Thank you so much for tuning in to you, to subscribing to your channel, and for allowing us to facilitate this experience as expressions and reflections which you called in, which your highest self, your heart, your soul called in and created to allow it to have this transformative experience in this path of what some would call ascension, I call remembrance. Right now, tune into your highest joy, your highest excitement. Let that be your purpose. Follow that. Allow that to be the navigational tool. Feel free to reach out anytime. We are here in service to your highest well-being and flourishing life.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Love it. Oh, thank you, sister. So appreciate
So the
that.
actual transmission is actually 2 hours long. It includes breath work by Joyous Heart, my beloved, and then a 90-minute transmission. And I'll send you the link and all the information needed for that. Thank you so much for allowing me to share that here.
Of course, thank you. Andrew and I had the privilege, and Isis and others on this call, to be able to be a part of that Recode Your Reality ceremony last Friday night. And it just opened the doorway for a beautiful, juicy, intimate, wonderful weekend with my husband. And we were so grateful for the transmission and all that you embody, you and your husband, and the work that you're doing in the world. So thank you for that, sweetheart.
Thank you. I honor you so much. Blessed sisters of light. Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
Love you, beautiful
Yes.
one.
Love you. And thank you, Hilary Heart. So, so beautiful to have you here. Nice to see your face again.
Yay.
Yeah. So
likewise, I have a good memory of meeting you or seeing you and Joyous synchronistically at the headwaters. I just really felt that watching you guys. So sweet with Sonia, who just walked in. So I love our soul family and that we can just build each other's immunity. Andrew and all the beloveds on this call. I want to reach out and see you all soon, and whether that's in our dream time or waking, just however it flows.
I do want to visit with everybody as soon as we end the recording. So I just want to thank everyone for being here. For everyone who's watching the recording later, thank you so much. We really appreciate your presence. Please do share and comment below. We'd like to know more about what are some of the topics you'd like us to discuss and venture through. Maybe some ideas. We're so open to the flow right now. And although I don't have a special guest or a title for next week, I'm definitely really looking forward to it because it's just been so potent. Every Thursday at 6 p.m. Please join us again for Anistara's Messages. Hilary Heart, Sandy, thank you. Love you ladies so much.
Thank you. I love you.
Yay. All right. Good evening, soul family. Have a beautiful day.